Hi, Alex from Too Busy Reading here. Today I'm talking about The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. It's the first installment in the Goblin Emperor series and it refuses to follow the beaten path of fantasy. But should you read it? Maya is the fourth and youngest son of the Elvish Emperor, and he's half goblin. Hated by his father, Maya is exiled to the fringe of the Empire where he receives none of the education a prince should. When an airship crashes with his father and older brothers on board, Maya has no choice but to take his rightful place as emperor. With no friends, advisors, or court knowledge, Maya must quickly learn to become emperor. All the while, ambition and treason are afoot. Here's what I liked about The Goblin Emperor. It's a lovely, warm, feel-good tone. Maya has had a shitty life so far, but he strives for compassion, rather than returning the cards he was dealt. And Catherine Addison doesn't undermine this by making him a saint who effortlessly spouts kindness and brotherhood. It's a challenge for him not to retaliate. And it's quite fresh compared to other fantasy novels. The setting is very different. I can't even remember humans being mentioned. And the only two races we meet are goblins and elves, with the two very similar. I liked that this tale of coming of age is quite different. Rather than a young person attending like an academy or becoming an apprentice, it's about this person who's an adult, I think he's about 20 or so, and he's thrust into this situation that he's basically not prepared for at all, and how he can develop and grow to survive in this situation. Here's what I disliked about The Goblin Emperor. So the first thing is the people in this novel, they speak in this like archaic form of English, especially when they're in formal settings. And because the main character is the emperor, this happens quite a lot. So you get characters referring to themselves as we, but you also get these sort of passages like, "Why comest thou whining to me of what thou must do?" I sort of had to internally translate these sentences and what they actually meant. I wish this form of dialogue just wasn't used. It's sort of cool what they're doing, but at the same time, it just makes it more difficult to read. And while I did get used to it after a few chapters, I can't say it was ever preferable. Something else I didn't like is the character names are quite confusing. I think their role in their family is built into their name. And there's sort of all these variations on the family name. And here's a good example. So there's Cethero Ceridon, daughter of Marquess Ceridel of family Ceridada. It's confusing. And it took me a fair amount of time to work out who was who. There is an appendix in the book to help with this, but I read it on a Kindle and it's pretty difficult flicking back and forth. So for me, this novel, you want a physical book to read. So should you read The Goblin Emperor? I think you should. It's a fresh, feel-good fantasy that doesn't follow the typical quest or adventure plot. I do wish the names and dialogue were a bit easier to read, but it's still a 3 or 4 star read. I'd read it again and I'll read the sequels. Thanks for tuning in. See you on the next video.